Welcome back to Murderous March here on Kidmissing TV. We're going to talk about the murder of Elsie Frost. Elsie was born the 7th of February 1951 and was murdered the 9th of October 1965. She was 14 years old. She was killed in an underpass beneath a railway line near to Wakefield, West Riding of Yorkshire, England. No successful conviction of anyone responsible. In 2015, after pressure from Elsie's family, West Yorkshire police reopened the case. And then in March of 2018, the primary suspect died. Okay. She had spent the afternoon at her school's sailing club on Horbury Lagoon, a flooded gravel quarry next to the Calder-Hebble Canal, where she and her friends left between 3:50 p.m. and 4 p.m. She took a slightly different route from the others, avoiding a partially flooded tunnel, possibly to prevent her new shoes getting muddy. She was attacked whilst walking through a tunnel underneath the railway line that runs between Wakefield, Kirkgate railway station, and Horby. She was stabbed 5 times, twice in the head, once in the hand, and twice in the back, with one of the knife wounds piercing her heart, causing her death. The wound in her hand led the police to believe that it was sustained while trying to defend herself. Well, I was about to say that. The post-mortem showed that Elsie had died of shock and blood loss. She made it through the underpass and collapsed at the bottom of the ABC steps, as they are known locally, because there are 26 of them, as there are 26 letters in the English alphabet. She was found at 4:12 p.m. by a man who was out walking with his 3- and 5-year-old children. Oh my God. Can you even... Oh my God. Imagine the horror. Over 1,200 written statements were taken. 400 people who lived within a quarter-mile radius of the murder scene were traced and had their movements checked. Over 12,000 men were interviewed, and a large number of knives belonging to local residents were examined. Despite an intensive police inquiry coupled with national coverage, the manhunt was the biggest the city of Wakefield had ever seen. The police were unable to establish a motive for the crime, or indeed if Elsie was the intended victim or a passerby who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The manhunt was later expanded using the army and also involved the use of metal detectors in an attempt to find the murder weapon. In January of 1996, the deputy coroner, Philip Gill, presiding over the inquest into Elsie's death, decided that Ian Bernard Spencer, who was 33 at the time, was the man guilty of killing Elsie. Spencer maintained that although he was in the area of her death earlier in the day, he was at home during the time that Elsie was murdered. Despite this being corroborated by his wife, his mother-in-law, and a family friend, the 3 witnesses were not called to give evidence on his behalf at the inquest. Till 1984, a coroner's inquest could apportion blame and guilt and recommend criminal proceedings to be brought against an individual, which is what happened to Mr. Spencer. The coroner stated that there was sufficient prima facie evidence. That means there was evidence on the face of it. Decent circumstantial evidence, even though Ian Spencer had been cleared by 2 courts with 1 judge instructing a jury to acquit. Police still routinely turned up at the Spencer family home whenever there had been a knife crime in the area. Mr. Spencer took to writing down what time he left one place and then the time he arrived at the next, including the mileage he had traveled. He carried on creating these logbooks throughout his working life and on into retirement. The Frost family were convinced at the time that Spencer had nothing to do with Elsie's death. Elsie's mother, Edith Frost, stated, this is a quote, "I know what Mr. Spencer and his wife must have suffered. I am glad for their sakes it is over. I am sure they will be as anxious as I am to have the killer found." Uh, Pressure from Elsie's brother and sister, Anne Cleve and Colin Frost, and coverage of the murder on an investigative BBC Radio 4 program, prompted West Yorkshire police to reopen the case in 2015, 50 years after the killing. The new investigation produced 100 lines of inquiry, a response that the police found encouraging. The major investigation review team is staffed of, so that must be like a cold case team, is staffed by serving officers as well as civilians, most of whom are retired detectives. The review team disclosed that most of the original files had been destroyed. Of course they had been. After the program was aired on Radio 4, several listeners gave accounts of what they had seen, leading to fresh evidence and new theories. Members of the public submitted FOIA requests to the National Archives for the murder files, which were not due to be opened until 2030 and 2060. The requests were denied on the grounds that the police files name other suspected individuals other than the man sent to trial in '66. The release into the public domain of this information may have harmed any further criminal proceedings. There were also notes that the files contain postmortem images and reports which could be distressing for the immediate family. It was revealed during the investigation by Radio 4 that Elsie's clothes had been offered to the family, but when the offer was declined, the clothes were then destroyed by the police, despite there being knowledge of the science of DNA in 1965. This effectively ended any hope of possible DNA retrieval. There have been other suspects. One theory was that Elsie came upon two men engaged in a homosexual act, which was illegal in Britain until 1967. There's also a man in his mid-20s dressed in overalls on a bike that could have been a butcher, or a butcher's delivery boy, or an abattoir worker. Don't know what that is. ABATTOIR. If you know, let me know. Another theory was that Elsie was meeting someone in the days before her death, possibly a boyfriend. Her father had said that the night before she died, she went to Balm Lane Youth Club in her best clothes rather than her normal attire, and she had asked to stay out later than usual, though she actually came home no later than usual. Another lead was proffered by a school acquaintance of Elsie's, who, as a nurse, had heard a third-hand account of a man confessing in a hospital to being present during her killing. He claimed to have been involved in a homosexual act. When Elsie happened across them, that's where they got that from. Wow. Whilst this new information it was announced by the Thames Valley Police that they had arrested a 78-year-old man on September 27, 2016, in connection with Elsie's death. It was revealed on the 29th the man had been bailed after his arrest. On 6 March 2017, it was reported the same man had been rearrested in connection with Elsie's case. He was also being questioned in relation to an unconnected allegation of rape and kidnapping in 72. On 25 March 2018, it was reported that the unnamed suspect was Peter Pickering, convicted of the 1972 manslaughter of 14-year-old Shirley Shirley Boldy in Wombwell near Barnsley. Pickering had died in a secure hospital the previous day. Detective Superintendent Nick Wallen of West Yorkshire Police said they had strongly suspected he was responsible, and it's our expectation that the Crown Prosecution Service will have decided to charge him in due course. In 2018, it was revealed that the Frost family would be lobbying the Attorney General for a new inquest where they could ask that the evidence against Pickering be looked at. The family stated they felt cheated and robbed by Pickering's death. Okay. I think he is a very, very, very viable suspect. it's sad that he was almost freaking 80 years old when they decided to arrest him. So, but, so he died, but I think that is a strong possibility in this case. Much stronger than the poor man that was basically tortured his entire life. I feel bad for him. So I think that I'm going to say thank you. God bless you. I need to change the battery, and I will continue on with murders. March. I don't usually tell you the next case, but since they're all written out anyway, I will tell you that the next case is the Texas killing fields. Again, thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless you. Please click like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Please comment. Let me know what you think. Bye, guys.